My name is Patricia Kameri-Mbote, a professor of law and majoring mainly on environmental law, but also on property rights and gender. COVID-19 has made us see the importance of solidarity. For Africans, the importance to take care of others and take care of our environment. One of the things that COVID-19 has put out is the need for hygiene and sanitation. I think one of the major wins is the commitment of more funding for adaptation to climate change. A lot of new funds were committed, but also the recognition that we can't keep talking in conference rooms when the people who will deal with the climate in the future are outside. And also the realization, having the meeting within a pandemic context, realizing that those kinds of meetings may fast becoming a thing of the past. One of the major losses, I think, was the failure to phase out fossil fuels. I think because climate change is discussed as a science, which is a complicated science, and I go back to where I started, that a changing climate is not a new phenomenon for Africa. So Africans have learned to live with a changing climate. They've become resilient, and there are things we know about keeping our climate from changing too radically, that if it found its way to the table. So what I'm saying is that science definition needs to include the ways of Africans knowing. And the ways of Africans knowing could actually tell people how have we survived with the Sahel coming down, or even with the Namib going up. In Africa, Eastern and Southern Africa, cyclical drought is a phenomenon. So we know we're going to have a bumper rain, we'll have a lot of it, and then we will not have any rain. But we've not seen everybody dying. Yes, there will be hunger, but that, I think, is told about more than the resilience of the people on the African continent. So I think with African Union, when we're talking about the Africa we want is an Africa where our way of knowing has found its way into the mainstream. We are not looking at science as what is out there in the lab is exotic. We live with the climate, so it is what we do on a day-to-day in surviving as Africans. For environmental law, many people talk about the deficit of enforcement and also of compliance. So if you have not many people following the law, and then you have when decisions are made by courts, they are not followed, then you see we have a lack of rule of law because we are not following the norms that we have subjected ourselves to. So even before you get to the COVID-related waste, such as PPEs and masks, and even swabs that are used. I don't know where I was reading in a country where somebody had decided to recycle swabs. And it sounds like a very environmentally sound thing until you think about the microbes that are in the swabs. Can you deal with them just by recycling? So I think we were found at a point where we were not okay with waste, and COVID is likely to have just made that situation worse. I would be slow to say that transnational crime has gone down or has gone up, but what I would say is that when you have less movement and when every attention is on the pandemic, then you could actually have a proliferation of taking of species with nobody seeing. My hope for environmental rule of law in Africa is that Africans would reconnect with the environment. You know, colonialism had a very profound way of cutting people's links with nature because it became difficult for Africans to lead a normal life without committing an offense. So living in the forest, taking forest produce, actually were crimes. And so in many instances, even the protection of wildlife, which had only survived because people took care of it, has become a hazard because, you know, wildlife was pitted against humans. My hope for Africans and for Kenyans is that we own the environment. Even though we go to international meetings and at those international meetings pledges are made, at the end of the day, this is our wildlife and these are our forests. So if we want to live a life beyond now with the resources that we have actually to look after our environment. And I think one of my parting shot would be tusipojali mazingira yetu ni sisi tutaumia. Na watoto wetu hawataona wanyamapori sisi tumeishi nao, na tutapata magonjwa yenye yatakuwa yanasambaa na hatutakuwa na kinga.